Hello, it's Luke for Divine Star, and I'm very excited to talk about the Alpha 1.2.2 update. I have pretty much rewrote about 60 to 70% of the engine. I think with all the attention that the engine's been getting recently, I've just added a bunch of features that kind of slowed it down a bit due to copious amounts of extra hashing that was going on. So I've just taken a step back and I reworked a lot of stuff, and I think everything that I got going on now is really nice. It's very clean. It opens up the doorway for a lot of new awesome stuff. There's some things that I've started in this update which I will be finishing up in the next one that are really cool. I added different dimensions and all that, so eventually you will be able to have different dimensions. You will be able to run separate update queues for those dimensions. Another thing I want to add in a later update is region-based updating, so that if you have something happen a million meters away, it won't conflict with other things. You don't have to wait for those to get done. But first, on the surface, not much has changed other than I've added the red voxels, as you've seen. You know, I think some people just got tired of the purple, or they asked me to do some different colors, so that's what I just did. Maybe in the future I will add more colors and all that, but right now I'm just trying to focus on the code. Another thing I recently did is so the engine is still under MIT license. You can take the engine and you can do what you want with it, but I put all my textures and assets under a copyrighted license, so you can't just use them for any commercial use. You can use them for your own development purposes, but I would rather you not just take my hard work and bundle up and sell it like that. This will allow me to make some improved textures that I want to in the future. But yeah, this is the dread space. I just called it dread just because it sounds cool. I don't really think of this as blood or whatever. It's more just kind of like a concept of, because the purple stuff is called like liquid dream ether, and this is liquid dread ether. So it's almost like liquid emotion running out. That's what I was kind of thinking. But anyway, that's not the important thing about this update. So we're actually going to take a look at the code here. So the way that you work with the engine now is through something called tools. So here you can see, let me make this really big. We have the builder tool and the data tool. These are the first ones I'm going to talk about first. So the builder tool lets you build chunks, and also world columns and all that. So you can set the world column, set that to 0, and then you can build that column. Another thing, of course, you can do is set the dimension, as I did there. And what is nice about most of these tools is that for most or a lot of these functions, it returns itself, so you can chain things together. You can set the dimension, you can set the x and z, and then build that column. So that's basically what the builder tool does. It's pretty simple. The data tool allows you to work with and update the world data directly. So, you can set the dimension, we're going to set that to main, and then we're going to load in just 0, 0, 0. Of course, that doesn't return itself. I think it throws an error if you don't specify the correct dimension. So this will return true or false. If it does not load in the data. So after it's loaded in, you can pretty much get everything about that voxel. You can be like, is this error? You know, you can even turn it into error. But the important thing to know about the data tool is that nothing will actually change until you run commit. Now, with the commit command, you have two options. You can set it to 1 or 2. This is more for the back of the engine, but it literally, those are for updating the height map of the chunk. So we can actually see that tool in action if we wanted to. Here, let's actually go to just this debug world. And we're going to go to the world thread here. So I'm going to go to constant data tool is equal to dvw get data tool. So we go data tool dot load in 0, 0, 0. So this should be wherever this voxel is, which is Dreamstone. So return true, that means it loaded in. So we go get ID, and it has an ID of 21. Now this is the voxel palette ID, and then we can also get the string ID. Yep, it's Dreamstone. So you can also get the light. Of course, it's -1 because it's a solid voxel and does not store light. So yeah, this is pretty nice. Pretty much everything inside the engine uses this now, and this was able to reduce the amount of lookups it has to do for data. And I will show you in a second just one kind of interesting thing that I did with caching chunks temporarily and how much that actually speeds up stuff. But anyway, that's the data tool. I think you pretty much get the point. Now the tool that I'm really excited about, that I really like, that makes the engine so much easier to use, is the brush tool. So I called it a brush because it's like a paintbrush. Now when you register voxels, it gets added to something called a palette. So you can think of like a painter's palette. It gets added to that. So with the brush, you can actually paint the voxels that are in the palette. As you can see, here I can just do a demonstration. We can do a brush.set ID to dv dreadstone, and then we set the XYZ to 0 or 0, 0, 0, and then we you know, if we want to just paint, we just paint it. And then boom, it will be added there. So now you don't have to pass a million parameters to the function to get it to do anything. Like, if the voxel has different states, you can set the state. If you want to add a secondary voxel for, like, if you have something underwater, you can do that. You can also set this shape state. The shape state is like if you have stairs and there are different orientations, that's what a shape state's for. But anyway, this is the brush tool. So the brush tool normally doesn't have these functions, but for in the world thread currently, you have these paint and update. So this is what replaced the request voxel add and remove. So we're going to do this. We're going to get a new brush. Get brush. Get brush. What is it called? Just get brush. Okay. Get brush. So we're going to set the ID to dv dreadstone, and then we're going to set the XYZ to, alright, I'm just going to put it right here, 685. 685. Okay. And you can see it returned itself, and then we go paint and update. Boom. So that's what it does. The paint and await update, you can literally do async await for that. Now, what's cool about this update is that I started to move away from using async await for these kind of updates because it was actually blocking the world thread and not preventing things from moving forward. So here you can see I'm adjusting the, or I'm adding things to the brush tool. But as you can see, it's using some form of callback hell to actually do that, and it's using a set interval down here. As you can see, paint and update, set interval, and it has this state object. It keeps tracks of everything in the queues, and then runs that. All right, so, and then the final tool is the task tool. And of course here you can see that you can add things to the task. RGB remove update, sun remove update, world, sun, and all that. So this I'm trying to provide a high level interface so the engine can handle the more complicated queue setting and queue running in the future. Because a lot of the work I'm doing is building up to infinite world generation, where it will, like a world column will generate based on the states of its surrounding neighbors. So it will actually build only after the columns around it have finished its sun and light updates. So it looks correct, and there's no funny things with the light. But in order to do that, there just has to be more complicated systems underneath, but what you get on the top is a much more intuitive and nice tools to work with. So yeah, a few other things I did. Looking for it, here we go. There were some bugs with doing light updates and removes like this, but now that's pretty much all taken care of. As you can see, everything just went away perfectly and there's no leftover light. And finally, the other thing I've been working on is water meshing a bit. Of course, I showed a video of this just recently, but this is looking pretty good. The only thing I need to work on is the actual direction in which the textures get turned, because sometimes it's a little messed up. And that's just about calculating the correct vector for the flow state. Okay, so now let's just have a little bit of fun. Oh, actually, this is actually pretty big. I want to show you how fast you can break stuff now. Oh, I'm underwater. Okay. I replaced all the old bad player example code with the new physics example code. Of course, you can still add a voxel where you're standing. Need to do like just a simple ABV check, but this is so much nicer. But as you can see, yeah, look at that. That is crazy. It was very satisfying to see. Like, I can even get in my mouse and just do it really quick. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. I just want to show you what happens if I turn off caching? How much slower it actually is. Okay. World register, we go to cache. And just always make this false. So this world's actually going to take longer to generate. As you can see, it's taking a while. Did I go to the wrong one? Alright, I'm just gonna make sure that I went to the right one. Did I actually fall? I actually fell through before it generated. Oh no. Yeah, I've fallen in the infinite void. Well, it's so slow now, I can't even show you. Hang on. Okay. Let's just look at simple. Alright. So that's simple with the cache off, and now let's turn it on. Notice a little bit of difference. We go back to the dream space now with the cache on. You will see that I actually will finish generate before I land the ground. Yeah, I might have to make a different thing to properly show that off. This runner demo is actually fun now with the new physics, because it's so much more block-like. Because previously, yeah, no, I'm dead. Previously, the other physics example was using a ellipsoidal, which was the standard in Babylon, but that's not a thing anymore. So you can actually run through and not fall through all the time. Yeah. But anyway, this is all I have to talk about. I'm pretty happy about this update. I'm going to keep working on everything that I deem important. So yeah, the next update will be about finishing up dimensions and all that, so you can run different updates and all that. I actually have kind of a working example of dimensions. This over here is a whole different dimension that it's residing in, a whole different set of chunks and columns, and that I was able to build. So yeah, that's will be the next update, and then I'll keep working on things for the server. Yeah, a lot of this stuff also came when I started doing the server stuff, and people asked me like, how are you going to make this any more performant than Minecraft and stuff like that, and that was a pretty interesting question. So my idea was to try to limit thread blocking as much as possible, and to kind of have a task and queue system that can be used from basically any thread as long as you import the correct objects and all that. So eventually you're going to have the ability to have players on a bunch of different threads and interact with the actual like task runners and be able to run all this stuff in parallel and not have things block each other. It's going to be absolutely crazy, but it's also going to be pretty sweet to think about. So yeah, I will keep posting updates and all that as things keep coming out, but thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.